Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle the huge and, let's be honest, sometimes confusing world of ancient Indian philosophy. Our goal is to turn what can feel like a dense forest of ideas into a clear, simple map you can actually use for your studies.
So if you're studying for an exam, this probably looks familiar, right? The sheer number of schools, Sankhya, Nyaya, Vedanta, and on, it can feel pretty overwhelming. How in the world are you supposed to keep it all straight?
Well, the good news is there's a surprisingly simple organizing principle that makes everything just click into place. It all comes down to a single core distinction. So let's dive in and build this map together. Okay, so that one core distinction I just mentioned, it's all about a single question concerning one ancient set of texts. Seriously, understanding this one point is the key to unlocking the entire landscape.
And those texts are the Vedas. First things first, we've got to understand what these are. They're the oldest scriptures of Hinduism, and a school's relationship to them, basically whether they accept their authority or reject it, that is the crucial dividing line that defines everything else.
And this slide right here illustrates that great divide perfectly. On one side, you have the Astika, or orthodox schools. Key point, they accept the Vedas. On the other side, you have the Nastika, or unorthodox schools, and they reject the Vedas. Astika accepts, Nastika rejects. If you can get this one distinction down, you have already built the entire foundation of your map. It's that important.
So, let's explore that first branch of our map, the Astika side. Now, there are 6 major orthodox schools, which still sounds like a lot. But here's a little trick, especially for studying. We can group them into 3 logical pairs, which makes them so much easier to remember.
Our first pair is Mimamsa and Vedanta. You can think of them as 2 different ways of reading the Vedas. Mimamsa is all about the early parts, the rituals, the actions, the stuff you do. That's the karma kanda. Vedanta, on the other hand, zooms in on the later, more philosophical texts, the Upanishads, which are all about the pursuit of knowledge, the jnana kanda. So basically, rituals versus knowledge.
Next up, we've got Samkhya and Yoga. Now, the absolute easiest way to think about these two is as theory and practice. They're a perfect team. Samkhya provides the theoretical framework, this deep dualistic worldview of soul, or Purusha, and matter, Prakriti. Then yoga comes along and gives you the structured, practical path, the how-to guide, for liberation based on that very philosophy.
And our final orthodox pair is Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Here's how to think about them. Nyaya gives you the philosophical toolkit. It's all about logic, the rules of debate, how we know what we know, and how to form a correct argument. Then Vaisheshika takes that toolkit and uses it to take apart the world itself, analyzing reality and breaking it down into its fundamental building blocks, like atoms and substances.
All right, we've covered one whole side of the map. Now, let's jump over to that other main branch, the Nastika schools. These are the ones who decided to forge their own path, completely rejecting the authority of the Vedas and relying on their own independent thinking.
These are known as the Sramana traditions. Now listen, here is a massive tip for your exam. Don't get lost trying to memorize every little detail. Just focus on nailing the single defining concept for each of these schools, because as you're about to see, they're often in a direct conversation or, a heated argument with each other.
First up, you've got Lokayata, the radical materialists. Their motto was basically, if you can't see it, hear it, or touch it, it doesn't exist. Simple as that. So as you can imagine, they threw out ideas like a soul or an afterlife. And hey, if there's no cosmic destiny or karma to worry about, what does that mean? It means you have complete free will to live this life however you see fit.
And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the Ajivaka school. They went in the exact opposite direction. They argued for strict, absolute determinism, believing that everything, and I mean everything, is pre-decided by fate. In their worldview, free will is nothing more than an illusion.
So then, Jainism comes along and carves out its own path right between these ideas. It totally rejects the strict determinism of the Ajivakas. Instead, it argues that our own actions, our karma, are what shape our destiny. This deep focus on personal responsibility is all anchored by its most famous ethical principle, ahimsa, or radical nonviolence toward every single living being.
And finally, we have Buddhism.
Now, like Jainism, it absolutely accepts free will. But here's the crucial difference. Where Jainism often emphasizes physical actions and strict asceticism, Buddhism argues that liberation, or nirvana, is achieved through the mind. It's all about understanding the true nature of reality. That profound insight, and that alone, is what has the power to break the cycle of rebirth.
So there you have it. That's our complete map. You can see how all the pieces fit together. Now, let's lock it all in and turn this into a super simple framework you can use to study for any test on this topic. Okay, here it is, your 3-step study framework. It's really this simple. Step 1. Always start with the Great Divide. Ask the question, Astika or Nastika? Do they accept or reject the Vedas? Step 2. For the Orthodox schools, don't try to memorize a long list. Just remember them as 3 related pairs. And Step 3. For the unorthodox schools, just know that one single defining idea for each one. Use this structure, and I promise you'll be able to navigate this topic with total confidence.
But you know, just when you think you have it all neatly categorized, here is a fascinating final twist. Even inside the Vedas themselves, the very texts the Orthodox schools build everything on, we find this profound philosophical doubt. This ancient hymn from the Rig Veda basically asks, who really knows how it all began? It just shows that this spirit of critical thinking is as old as Indian philosophy itself.
And that really brings us to a final thought. These are not just historical artifacts. The questions these schools were grappling with, free will versus determinism, the nature of reality, how we know what we know, these are still the big questions we're all wrestling with today. So as you keep studying, listen for the echoes of these ancient debates in our modern world. You might be surprised at just how loud they still are.